Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles Sabansi. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamers Pro Show. We cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, and entertainment. And we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today we have a hell of a show for you guys. But before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Also, if you want to follow me on Instagram, my name is Charles Tabansi. My handle is CTABANZ. If you want to follow the channel on Instagram, same name as the channel, Dreamers Pro. And if you want today's full show before it comes out on YouTube, it's streaming for free on the Dreamers Pro podcast that we have pinned below. Anyway, let me get into this. Let me go ahead and get into this topic here. As you guys know, I'm among the majority of people who believe that MJ is the greatest player that's ever played basketball. But with the advent of social media and all of these various platforms, we've been getting an opportunity now to hear various voices comment on the sport, right? And what we're noticing is that there are a lot of interest groups. And I personally believe the following. I believe that at Dreamers Pro, a lot of our views represent what a lot of people think that are against some of these fake narratives that are being thrown out there by big media. And of course, some of these cronies that run around following them. And I believe that we're speaking for them, because for every person that we irritate, we hear another person say, keep it up, man, keep it up, keep it up, keep going, keep exposing it, keep saying this, keep saying that. And I believe there are a lot of people out there. As a matter of fact, I see now, more than ever before, we see a lot of creators coming up, producing content, adding Dreamers Pro. Dreamers Pro, what do you think about the Dreamers Pro? Saying a lot of what we're saying. A lot of guys, right? So a lot of people are beginning to push back on some of this nonsense that's been taking place. And one of it is that, you know, this is the greatest era ever of basketball. And a lot of us simply do not believe that. We refuse to swallow that pill. I'm sorry. We refuse to agree with you, right? And I was thinking about Michael Jordan. We recently produced another show about Kobe Bryant, kind of refuting some of the points that JX My High Roller presented in his last video, which was our NBA players getting too good. And as I was thinking about that, going through the notes, it took me some time to come up with the notes for that show. I started to think about Michael Jordan, right? And I started to think about scoring. I started to think about, you know, the greatest scoring season ever and all of those different things. And then it made me begin to look back at MJ's greatest scoring season. And I went back to the 1986-1987 season, where Michael Jordan that year averaged a staggering 37.1 points per game. That average right there is the highest average of any player in any regular season in nearly 4 decades. That's been the highest scoring average in the last 36 years. Let me repeat it once more. MJ scoring 37.1 a season is the highest scoring average we have seen in the last 36 years. It is that gaudy of a number. But all we hear today is how players are more skilled, how efficient they are, blah, 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 blah. Yet I've yet to see anyone since Kobe be able to replicate a season like that offensively on the same level of Michael Jordan. And I'll explain why a little bit later on in today's show, why I'm excluding James Harden. Now, let's get into the nitty-gritty and the meat and potatoes of this. I know some people crack up when I say that, but let's get into it. Last season, the NBA scoring champion was Joel Embiid, right? Who plays for the Philadelphia 76ers. Pretty impressive for a center to lead the league in scoring. Last year, Joel Embiid scored a whopping 33.1 points per game. Very, very impressive. Very, very impressive. But to the casual observer, they will say that and say, well, 33.1, 37. I mean, he ain't too far off. I mean, it's only 4 points, but, you know, it goes to show you Jordan and all of that, right? You would see that. But what you didn't realize was MJ and Michael Jordan and Joel Embiid, in terms of scoring, you may be looking at those numbers and not realize both of those gentlemen were in 2 totally different universes. 2 totally different universes. Let's get into it. Last season, Joel Embiid scored 33.1 points per game on 54.8% shooting. Bearing in mind, as a 7-foot guy, Joel Embiid ain't 6'5", 6'6". He is 7 feet tall. And in basketball, when you have that type of height, let's look up Joel Embiid. Let me see. What are Joel Embiid's attributes? Yeah, okay. Joel Embiid is what? 7 feet tall, and he weighs 280 pounds. Jordan in his playing weight was 6'6", weighing between 215 and 220. And if you know anything about basketball, if you have that type of physicality, if you have that type of body, merged with skill, you're going to have a very, very serious advantage. It's one of the reasons why Kobe Bryant said, all of us are lucky that Allen Iverson was not 6'6". That's what Kobe says, because basketball, up to a certain point, selects out for height. So he did that at 7 feet tall while shooting 86% from the free throw line, which is very impressive, and attempting 11.7. Let me see. I think free throw attempts. Let me just get the data right. 11.7 free throw attempts per game last year. So those were stellar. Let's get into Jordan's numbers. In the 86-87 season, Jordan averaged 37.1 points per game at 6'6", shooting 48% from the field, 86% from the free throw line, and 18% from the three. Now, some people will be like, oh, you see, Michael Jordan ain't all of that. There's a reason I put that stat in there. There's a specific reason. And the more we go on with the show, you're going to see how extraordinary Michael Jordan actually is. The year Jordan scored 37.1, get this, he was only attempting 0.8 threes per game and made 0.1. To translate that into a number, Jordan made, get this, for the entire year of 86-87, he made 12 three-point shots. 12, which comes up to an average of about 1 3-point shot made every 6 to 7 games. And the man still averaged 37.1 points per game. Let's look at Joel Embiid. Last season, Joel Embiid made 66 three-pointers a game, which comes out to about 1.2 3-point shots per game. 1.2 3-point shots per game. That's what it comes out to. Now, if we dig a little bit further, Embiid was making 1.2 on 3 attempts per game. On 3 attempts per game and shooting 33%. Now, imagine if Jordan was attempting the same amount of threes, or rather made the same amount of threes, attempting 3 shots a game, and made the same amount of threes, Jordan would easily average over 40 points per game in this current NBA. If Jordan increased his 3-point shooting attempts to 4 a game and made 1.8, which is less than 50%, is maybe 40-some%, I don't know what the number is, it would count to an additional average of 5.4 points per game, which would push Jordan's overall scoring average to 42 points a game had he played today. But here's what they're not telling you. The league average for 3-point shots attempted last year was 34.2. As we currently speak right now, it's 34.9, so it's still going up. In 87, do you know what the league average was for 3-point shots per game, team? 4.7. I'll repeat it once more. The league average, you can go to basketballreference.com where I got a lot of this information from. The league average in 87 was 4.7 3-pointers per game. I hope you're beginning to get the picture of what's really going on here and just how impressive what Jordan did. If Michael Jordan played in this cupcake era today, I personally believe he would make a lot of these players, if they stood next to him, look like an absolute. He would make them look like they're not supposed to even be on the same court with him. It would be that much of a difference. And oh, by the way, he would also play all 82 games, which means that he will be scoring those amount of points in a league where stars cannot even play 82 games, and you will never see an NBA superstar play 82 games 3 out of the next 10 years. You will never see the best player in the world play 82 games 3 out of the next 10 years. It will not happen. So he'll be playing in this NBA where he is more durable, he has a higher motor, plays at a higher RPM. Jordan would be a walking nightmare. Quite literally. He would have been a walking nightmare. Now let's take it a step further. let's look at the pace, right? Let's look at the pace. The pace of 2022. Yeah, excuse me, the pace of 87. Let's look at the pace of the 1987 and the year 2022. It was roughly the same. I think in 87 it was 100, 101 to last year I think it was 92. But in 2022, teams were scoring an average of 5 more points per game, which means that if Jordan played in this particular era, he would have an opportunity to score more points because there were more points available. Given the fact that teams are shooting more threes, it's a much more open game, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I want to get to another part, which is free throw attempts per game. Some will say that teams are attempting less 3-point shots per game. I looked at JJ Redick. JJ Redick said, well, teams are attempting less 3-point shots per less free throws a game, free throw attempts per game. So that means the game is getting less physical. Again, that's a very deceptive number. Yes, on average, teams are attempting 23.5 3-point free throw attempts a game last season versus the year in 87 when teams were attempting 30 free throw attempts per game. But the difference is when Jordan was playing, when he was scoring 37-1, players did not have any freedom of movement. There was hand checking, there was hard fouling, and there was less size in the game. And if you don't know what the factor of size plays in a game, go play a pickup game. You be 6'2", let the average height of everybody else be 6'9". And then when you finish playing that game, go play another game. You be 6'2", and let the average height of everybody in that game be 6'4". And you see what the difference of size can do in a game, how it clogs up the game. Today, a lot of teams are playing with a spread offense. Back then, it was not happening like that. A lot of players were playing with their backs against the basket. So the game was totally different. In my personal view, if MJ played today, minus the free throws, meaning less free throw attempts, but he didn't have any hand checking. He had freedom of movement. If you're talking about the guy waiting at the rim is 6'9", 6'10", I personally believe Jordan's scoring average will balloon all the way up to 45 to 47 points per game. Because the year he scored 37.1, it was basically on all twos. And if he also increases 3-point shooting percentage, or let's say 1 3-pointer per quarter, he would easily be able to do it. Now, some people will say, but why did you exclude James Harden? The reason I excluded James Harden's 36.1 points per game back in 2019, the reason I excluded that was because James Harden that season was attempting 13.8 3-point shots per game and made 4.8. He was basically chucking the ball. Or essentially, James Harden with 3.69, he was essentially attempting 3 3-point shots per quarter. Jordan was attempting 0.8 3-point shots per game. Per game. Do you realize that after 3 games, James Harden would have probably had more threes than Jordan had that entire season? And Jordan still scored more points. Why would I then include these two gentlemen? Because I also watched the game. So to me, listen, I think that if Jordan played today, I think it would be a total mismatch. And as a matter of fact, we put up a poll on a poll on the channel. We asked the question: if Michael Jordan played in this era, we posed this question 5 hours ago. You can go and leave your vote if you haven't. If Michael Jordan played in this era, would his numbers be even greater? In about 5 hours, we have 10,000 votes. Of the 10,000 people that have voted, 88% say yes. 12% said no. And then I pinned a comment and I said the following. I said, if you chose yes, then the question then becomes why. If you are taking a player from 30 years ago, 30 plus years ago, and bringing him into this era, how could he play with today's players, if they're so much more advanced than him? How would that happen? How would that happen? And that particular post generated 17 replies, 17 comments to that particular post that we put up there. To me, listen, I think that the fact of the matter is, again, I said it yesterday, I'm going to say it again. I think a lot of you guys, a lot of these people out here in media are trying to sell you something. I think they know that a lot of people are not going to do the research. I think that they know a lot of people's basketball knowledge is limited, and they're going to rely on a lot of these people that they see on TV and on YouTube, I mean, in terms of big names, to inform them, when the fact of the matter is they know that those guys, especially Jordan, was in a totally different era. He was on a totally different plane. Totally different plane. And I know some people will say, oh, but if Michael Jordan is so good, how come that when you look at LeBron James, and LeBron is playing so much better than Michael Jordan ever did at that advanced age. Let me just break it down to you quite simply. The reason LeBron is quote unquote playing better, and by playing better they mean just stats. They don't mean winning, nothing like that. They're just talking about stats. But the reason that is for one reason and one reason alone. I'll give you guys the data since you guys want to belabor that point. 2001, 2002, Michael Jordan that year, he played 60 games. He was 39 years old, right? I think LeBron is how old is LeBron? Now, I think LeBron's about to turn 39, or he's 39 or whatever. Well, last season he played 38. I think he's about to turn 38. Last season he played 55 games. So in terms of durability, Jordan was actually more durable than LeBron. But whatever, because at the age of 40, Jordan played 82 games. You will not see LeBron play 82 games at 40. But anyway, in the 2001-2002 season, Jordan scored 22.9 points per game. You juxtapose those numbers with LeBron, you're like, well, I mean, LeBron is way better. I think LeBron, last year he averaged 28 points per game. 28.9 points per game on 50% shooting, 32% from three, 76% from the free throw line, 76.8%. Then he got 8 rebounds, 8.3, 6.8 assists, 3.2 turnovers. So you will look at those numbers and say, hey, man, you mean much better. Jordan, that year when he was 39, he averaged 22.9 points per game on 41% shooting, on 18.9% shooting from the three, 73.9% shooting from the free throw line, while getting you 5.7 rebounds and 5.2 assists, 1.4 steals. Here's what you're not realizing. Number one, Jordan came back playing in the slowest era ever when he came back at 39. Number two, the only reason LeBron scored more points, and I'll repeat it for you, is not because he was a better player than Michael Jordan. The only reason LeBron scored more points is because LeBron is attempting more threes. That's all. There's nothing else. I mean, repeat it once more. The only reason LeBron scores more points at an advanced age than Jordan is because he attempts more threes. And a lot of his threes are contested. Nobody even goes out there to raise up a hand. That's all. LeBron is attempting more threes, and therefore he's able to generate more points for himself. That is it. Michael Jordan, at the age of 39 in 2001 season, he was attempting 0.9. Last year, or let's say over these years, LeBron is averaging 4.5. No, excuse me. LeBron, the year he averaged 30 in 2021, he averaged 8. The year before that, he averaged 6.9. He made 2.2 and 2.9. If Jordan increased his average to 8 3-pointers a game, which was unheard of back then, and he made 2 a game, what is Jordan averaging? About 28.29 points per game. Oh my God, LeBron is in another stratosphere. Oh my God, we've never seen anything like this. Y'all, they be getting y'all some idiots. Y'all some super fools. They really be fooling you. We have never seen, we have. We actually have. What you guys failed to pay attention to was the details. He's not doing anything that we haven't seen, and Jordan still holds the record for 40-year-old scoring 50 points in a game. That was MJ. But in terms of the scoring, that's all it is. Has nothing to do with being more miraculous and, oh my God, out of it. That's it. He just attempts more threes. He scores more points, shooting more threes. That's all it is, and nothing more. These are my thoughts. Whatever you guys think, leave your thoughts in the comments. We catch you on the next show. Peace.